Jay Seidel with the La Habra Journal, and I'm here with Mayor Pro Tem Tim Shaw to talk about the upcoming election. Tim, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so a couple quick questions here. You're running for re-election. What made you want to run for re-election again, and what are your qualifications?
Well, I've been on the city council now since 2008. I did come in a pretty unfortunate circumstance with Councilman Steve Anderson having passed away, and that kind of created the spot on the city council. So I ran that year, but I've really enjoyed my time on the city council. I think we've really come a long way in the last 8 years. I'd love to keep the momentum going forward. As far as my qualifications, I was mayor of La Habra in 2012. I'm the mayor pro tem now, and I do have a chance to serve regionally as well on our Orange County Transportation Authority Board of Directors. And I do have a master's degree in government, so some of my qualifications.
Okay. Being mayor pro tem and being on the council for a few years now, what's your vision of where La Habra is now and where it's going?
I'm really proud of where La Habra is, and I think we can even make it better. We've come a long way with our streets. When I came in, we just kind of got going with our pavement management plan, and we now see that the streets and roads are some of the best in the state of California, actually. Now, our arterial roads do have some work, and they're much more expensive to do, but we're very proud of where our streets and roads are. I think we have some other great projects queued up with the OC Bike Loop at Vista Grande Park, and we're going to see through the finishing of the Civic Center project and some other really exciting things. So I think we have a bright future ahead of us.
I'm glad you mentioned with the road repair about the arterial roads like Harbor and Beach and those kind of things, because a lot of people will sit there and go, what do you mean the roads have been repaired? I drive Harbor all the time and I'm bouncing up and down. So I'm glad you clarified that those are a separate part of the project. One of the things too that plagues, not really plagues, or it's more of a concern for every city is public safety. And with some recent burglaries like at Central Drugs and slight increase in property crime, if you're reelected, what do you see, or how do you see yourself helping ensure to the residents that La Habra is a safe city, and what the police can do to help out?
Sure. I think it's important we put all this in context. Over many decades, if you were to look at our crime rate, it really, really, really came down, way, way down. So we're very happy with that. Now, coming up off that bottom, it kind of only had one direction to go. So it has come ticking back up. I would point out that the most serious crimes that the police would call the Part 1 crimes of murders and the really horrible stuff remains at a very low, manageable, low rate. So the crimes we're seeing the uptick on, as you mentioned, are the property crimes. And when the state did Proposition 47, basically the early release of prisoners, and we're probably unfortunately seeing what was very easy to predict. You let the bad guys out of jail, they're probably going to go right back to their old ways. So we have seen that. I want to make sure we're constantly fully staffed. A lot of times that's harder than you think, right? We have so many positions in the budget, but with retirements and guys transferring out, we sometimes do have vacancies we're carrying in our police department. So trying to keep it fully staffed and maybe even adding positions going forward. We want to make sure our police are out in the community. We've had them on bicycles, with a real focus on community policing, so people kind of get to know their police officers, and they're going to HOA meetings and just kind of being out in the public. Coffee with a cop is another thing they've been doing. So just kind of having that familiarity with the public and our police officers, so we can try to nip the crime in the bud early.
Another thing is there's a lot of housing development and growth in residents in La Habra, as far as with the apartment project on Beach Boulevard, Cerveto on Whittier Boulevard. Yet there are a lot of empty commercial lots, and commercial real estate here stands vacant, like even the Birch Ford property and those kind of ones. I know there's limitations what city council members can actually physically do, but one of those, if you're reelected, what do you see that you can do to spur economic development in La Habra?
Yeah. It's a great question. I think there is a little misunderstanding of what city governments do and don't do in this regard. In the old days, we used to have redevelopment agencies where the city would directly be able to maybe get a little more involved in doing those sorts of things. So a lot of what we do is just kind of indirect. We want to provide a safe community. One, we want to get the graffiti off the walls if that pops up. We want to have, streets and roads looking nice and well maintained. And, just the process of getting business licenses and other things in the city. If you're dealing with the city to get, open, hopefully we make that a smooth, quick process as possible. With the housing, as you mentioned, it is important to remember a lot of times it is the housing that does support the businesses. I can share an anecdote where my brother was opening a shaved ice store in Gilbert, Arizona. So he purchases this franchise from the company. And as part of that, they supply to him a lot of data. They get to say, okay, here's your business, and within 1 mile radius, here's exactly how many people live in that circle. And then they went 5 miles out, here's exactly to the number how many people live in that circle. So as business owners are making that decision of, am I going to open up a store here in La Habra, they will look at how many people reside within that radius. And so that is an important thing. And I would point even maybe to the Black Bear Diner on Beach Boulevard. And one of the driving forces why they wanted to open there is because right across the street is the big apartment complex going up. So they wanted to get all kinds of foot traffic from that apartment.
Last question. What's something that you might want to tell the community that they don't know about you already?
Well, I did grow up here locally. I went to La Habra High School. My wife went to Sonora High School. So we the two of us certainly know this community. I'm probably really known as much as anything as the guy with 5 boys. We have 5 kids. The oldest is 8 on down, and it's all boys. So we're quite involved in Little League and soccer. So we're out there with boys running around everywhere. I did serve a Spanish-speaking mission for my church for a couple of years. So I did pretty well with learning Spanish after that time. And I teach political science or American government over at Rio Hondo College part-time. It's my job. So I do think I bring a decent background on the academics, a background of economics and our government, and I think hopefully bringing a bit more of a regional approach. Everyone in our councils kind of developed their niche, but being able to serve on the OCTA board and getting pretty involved in the Association of California Cities, it's kind of been a little bit of my role.
Raise the profile of La Habra, basically.
Hopefully, for the good.
Right. All right, Tim, thanks a lot for joining us. That's all we have time for today. And good luck in the election in November.
Thank you so much, Jay.